Hey, welcome back to another DVD Bunker. I'm Brian. It's Matt.
Hi, Brian.
How's it going?
Going great, buddy. It's going to be hard to top last week. Blues Brothers.
Oh man, boy, we've had our ups and downs.
Yeah,
that was a real roller coaster. That was like my episode 1. You know what I mean? That was like my Phantom Menace there because I want it so bad to have something good come out of that.
The good news is like nobody saw it, so nobody really shits on it.
That's true.
You're like,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a good one. They're like, oh yeah, I never caught that one. So it works.
So if you're a first-time watcher, maybe you don't know what the show's about, here at the DVD Bunker, we like to go through my DVD collection, look back at movies I haven't watched in a long time, or things we haven't seen as often, or maybe stuff that I really like that hasn't been seen by many other people, and we kind of reassess it and see how it holds up and if it was worth my money. This week, because we're such a fine topical show and we're always on the cutting edge, just like when we put out King Arthur a few weeks after that flop came out, I thought we would address another flop that just hit the theaters.
Is it done? Is it
Belly
shit?
flop, Dunzo. Well, domestic flop. Let's put it.
Okay.
We got to temper that because the movie will probably make $500 million.
No Hollywood
worldwide.
movie's really a flop anymore because overseas they make their money.
That's true. That's true. But we're talking about The Mummy. If you people don't know, Tom Cruise just released The Mummy. It was supposed to kick off a dark universe of horror movies. Now, this isn't even the first time they've tried this. There was a little movie called Dracula Untold. I think it was 2013, maybe. A little false start for them. Universal's really trying to get on that shared universe bandwagon. And technically, the Universal monsters are one of the first, the old, original gangsters of shared universes when they used to do the crossovers and stuff. So they're trying to do that now, and they're also doing something, and not enough people I don't think have talked about this. They're taking a cue not only from the shared universes of now and yesteryear, but they're doing something that they did in the 90s, which is they're remaking these classic monsters, and they're putting big names in it. That's the difference between, like, the Marvel movies and this universe. Like, the first thing these people did was cast Tom Cruise, Johnny Depp, Javier Bardem. They're angling to get Angelina Jolie as Bride of Frankenstein. They're casting A-listers. Now, my personal monster movies that I grew up with that I consider my classics are Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from '94, the Kenneth Branagh movie, and then Wolf with Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah.
And I think they're kind of taking a little bit of a cue from there, where they took A-list actors at the time and tried to like make these modern updates. So I don't think enough attention is paid to particularly those 90s versions of those monster movies. Like, those are the ones I grew up on. I never liked the 30s ones. The 30s version of The Mummy isn't even really a horror movie. It's like a romance. It's with light tension in it. It's not really scary in any way. So I think that I'm fine with updates and all that, but like I feel like those 3 specific movies from the early to mid 90s deserve recognition. That those were my monster movies growing up, and I really liked them. And like they said, they packed them full of star power. Bram Stoker's Dracula had Gary Oldman and Anthony Hopkins and Keanu Reeves doing the world's greatest British accent. And obviously Nicholson was in Wolf, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The monster was played by Robert De Niro in that.
Oh yeah,
that's fucking right. Like,
that's right.
They just shot for the stars, and I feel like that's what this new dark universe is trying to do, while also mixing in that modern formula for the cinematic universe.
A lot more action now, you know what I mean?
Right, and I think that's what hurt this one for me. I know coming out, I was watching the previews, and it just looked like a Mission Impossible movie with a mummy in it. I was like, so this doesn't really hit for me.
Yeah.
Plus,
planes crashing.
You cannot help but put it up against 1999, Brendan Fraser, The Mummy. And I think in a year that was super strong, 99 was a strong film for a year for film, I think Mummy holds up still.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's one of the best adventure movies in the 90s. It's definitely maybe the best Indiana Jones ripoff. Second to maybe Romancing the Stone.
Yep.
I really love that movie. Now, to be fair, the first time I went and saw it opening weekend. It came out in the theaters. Maybe got a little inebriated, maybe had a little something before I went in. Maybe got to the movie a little late and had to sit right in the front row and had a very intense experience. Maybe went to school and told people it was a little scary, not quite as...
When Benny got eaten by those scarabs, man, you were freaking the fuck out.
The one that's under the guy's skin,
yeah.
I mean, come on, that's... the face in the sand. Anyway, how do you feel about The Mummy, that franchise?
I really liked it. Now, this is one that's like, sold. Like I never went back and rewatched any of them, but I was always there for every one. You know, even the Scorpion King soundtrack. You know, everything.
Yeah, I think Mummy Returns isn't quite as good as The Mummy, but definitely has some good stuff in it. I like The Rock as the Scorpion King. I don't like that horrible CGI at the end of The Mummy Returns. That monster's real terrible.
Even bad then.
It was bad at the time.
I remember thinking
exactly. That. But that leads us to what we're actually going to watch today.
Wait, this is not okay. Bad Vision is blowing my mind. I just thought we were going to watch The Mummy. I was getting pumped.
No,
this is
man.
Like Mummy 5?
This is Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Oh, I probably see. Is this the Terracotta Soldiers?
Yeah, with Jet Li.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is 2008. I was simultaneously shocked at how long ago this came out and how recently it was. Like, I was like, 2008, really? And in both ways, I was like, it's been almost 10 years. And then, like, they made a Mummy movie as recently as 2008? So yeah, this is like they kind of came back to the franchise and tried to take another crack at it. Now I'm gonna put my cards on the table here. I don't think I have ever stayed awake during this movie. I've tried to watch it at least twice. So I don't know what we're getting into.
I
here
will
exactly.
say though, you've never, and not that I've noticed, you've never fallen asleep during a bunker watch.
That's true.
And we have
That's true.
had people fall asleep during bunker watch.
That's
Won't
true.
name any names.
No, we're not naming names, but we've had people. We've had some nodders. You know, we've had some
Which,
nodders.
hey, you know, that's some everybody. Some people can't get through a whole movie.
You got to do what you got to do. But yeah, so Brendan Fraser's back. No Rachel Weisz in this one.
You don't need her.
I think it's
Take the other one, Cupertino instead.
No. I know I'm gonna be mad that I can't remember her name once I see it. Maria Bello. Maria Bello fills in. Competent actress. We'll compare as we go. But Jet Li is the villain in this one, which love to see Jet Li as a villain.
Only what 2 or 3 times? What Lethal Weapon 4? We
With
get him
Weapon
as
4, and he's kind of half the villain in the one.
Yeah,
He's
good call.
both. He's both in that. And what about that movie War with Jason Statham?
Aren't
they?
That one.
I think they're just.
Guy?
I think it's one of those things where like they're fighting each other and then they have to team up. So I don't remember like what side of the law they're on or anything. That movie wasn't quite the letdown if I remember correctly.
That's a bummer. You see those two names, you think,
Right? Exactly.
Can't miss.
Sells itself,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. You would think. So aside from that, you ready to get into the?
I'm
Mummy?
ready. I'm excited because I watched this and I remember liking it. So I remember
good.
this. So
this is a
yeah.
movie where you know better than me. All right, let's do it. All right, we're back. We watched The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So, like all good Mummy movies in this franchise, starts off with flashback to tell us kind of the history of this particular mummy. I was thinking, I think Jet Li is much more evil than the Mummy or even the Scorpion King. Like, you know, Arnold Vosloo, who famously played Imhotep in the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies. Oh, also, the little disclaimer, I may say the original or the first Mummy. Know that I'm talking about the first one in this franchise. I know there's a 1930s Boris Karloff movie, and I know there's lots of sequels to that. Obviously, I'm referring to this franchise.
Okay.
So just across the board, so there's no confusion.
Right on.
Anyway, I just thought that like Jet Li is a lot more evil of a guy before he becomes the Mummy. I mean, yeah, Imhotep gets his curse because he specifically betrays just the Emperor, but like Jet Li is full on murdering, like he's like a warlord who kills like thousands of people and
he's like Genghis Khan
oppresses,
kind of dude,
like oppresses like whole armies and all the whole 9 yards. So yeah, I was like, wow, he's kind of and same thing. The Rock is just kind of like a conqueror. He's just kind of, the Scorpion King was just kind of like seeking glory in battle. Like he wasn't oppressing people as much.
No, this guy's definitely a horrible.
He's
a bad dude. You're right.
He's pretty much the worst of the Mummy villains. Plotline, like the history of this Mummy, very similar to the first Mummy movie. You've got like a secret love between Michelle Yeoh and this general, but the Jet Li wants Michelle Yeoh for himself.
Yeah.
He also wants her. She's supposed to like be this kind of mystic, and he wants her to find him the secret to immortality. They double cross Jet Li with this curse, but it still doesn't kick in fast enough, and he still ends up killing the general. Like
that was what. Here's the thing with that. Why does she have to do the curse? Why not just poison this dude or something, or just knife his ass? Why do they have to do this elaborate curse?
This guy believes you wholeheartedly, do this big mystic ceremony. You could have just cyanide or something.
Yeah, any number of things. Like they must have
poisons.
really fucking hated this guy. Like we got to send him to like some
Yeah.
special place.
Yeah, but so him and his whole army turn to clay, like becomes terracotta, and they bury him. Smash cut to the future, present, I guess, which is what did we say, the late 40s?
46.
46.
I looked it up. Yeah, 1946. So right after the war. Okay.
All right. So we got the O'Connells, Rick O'Connell,
back
living kind of like cushy life. They're rich. They're kind of bored. I always did like that continuity. It's in The Mummy Returns too, where like after the mummy they leave. At the end of the movie, they got a big bag of treasure, so they're like super rich and stuff. It's like
Yeah, they're Indiana Jones
wouldn't have to be a teacher because he plunders.
Yeah, and you give the good, you can give the important stuff, but there's
all
this other treasure.
It's just gold.
eBay shit.
Like there's just gold.
Yeah, Indiana Jones is a real turd about that. He's like a real line in the sand about that treasure.
Now they do the thing because we talked about how Maria Bello replaced Rachel Weisz in this as what's her name? Rose? No, that's anyway. It doesn't matter. The lead, Mrs. O'Connell.
She's barely in
Evie. It's Evie. That's her name, Evie. They do that thing where like they kind of acknowledge the little wink to the audience kind of thing. I think it works. I don't usually like that sort of thing. Like the kind of overt, like drawing attention to it, but I really think it works for the tone of this movie. And they do it a couple times in this movie. Actually, they kind of call out the ridiculousness of this whole franchise, which I think kind of works in this movie's favor.
Yeah, I think the reason why is because it's genuine. I think everyone on the cast was constantly throwing shade at this lady, just being like, "You're not even close to as good as she was." Let's put that shit in the movie. It's hilarious.
Well, we can just go ahead and say it right now. I don't think Maria Bello's English accent is super convincing. She's from Pennsylvania, I think. And I also didn't necessarily love the way she played Evie. Like, she was real doting over her adult son that, like, you get the impression, and like, you get the impression from him that they were off adventuring, kind of, during his childhood. Like, and they get asked to run this errand, and, like, the guy's like, oh, after all your help during the war. So you get the impression that in between mummy adventures, they couldn't help themselves. They were getting involved in World War II shit, whether it was like running messages or codes or being spies or whatever. So this kid probably grew up under the tutelage of some nannies and shit. Although to be honest, if you've ever seen The Mummy Returns, the kid who plays the young version of the son is the most annoying child actor in any movie. Like, so far above and beyond Jake Lloyd in Phantom Menace. Like, this guy, I would give Jake Lloyd 10 Oscars compared to this kid. He's the worst. So, I have to say, if I was the O'Connells, I wouldn't want to stay home with him either.
No, he's a shitty kid. Yeah, sorry.
He was terrible. He grew up into aside from the fact that I don't think they do enough to age up Brendan Fraser, because it looks like Brendan Fraser could be this guy's older brother. There could be like 5 years between these two, and I would believe it. Like,
he's got his shirt off and he's like ripped up.
Yeah,
in
I was like,
like,
Brendan Fraser still had 2008. Brendan Fraser still had it for sure.
You're right, though. This definitely doesn't seem like a dad's son.
Who could have like a 20-year-old son who's dropping out of college and shit, right?
But he's successful. Like, he finds the biggest find ever. Like, why do they get on him about college? He's the best.
He's the one who, unearths. He finds the Dragon Emperor's tomb. And it's like his big find. And he's in Hong Kong. And then we talked about the O'Connells get drafted in to take this, was it the Heart of Shangri-La, some ancient artifact, to Hong Kong to meet some contact. That's another thing we never figured out is, what is the reason that they have to bring the O'Connells to wake the mummy?
You never got an answer, right?
No, they never say it. Like, the old guy, the mentor who double crosses, says that he pulled strings to make sure it was the O'Connells who came to Hong Kong.
I heard that.
But they never say why it has to be them.
The only thing I could think of, I thought of this, was that they're so famously in love because that girl knew the proverb about that, like, someone who would sacrifice themselves is pure of heart. That's the blood they need.
The way they have to open the magical little thing.
Only thing I could think of, because we, like you see, you rerouted a few times, but we could not get why they had to be the ones. And even when that guy first asked him, where he's like, "You have to take this. If anybody else took it," I'm like, "Really? These two people alone are the only people that can take this to China?"
These two
like,
rich and white pampered,
like I get they've seen some action, but come on, you
10
got
years
warplanes
ago, come
and shit.
Whatever. Well, and then so the bad guys, when you have like so many things here that are reminiscent of the first two Mummy movies. You know, you have a general and like an army obsessed with raising the Dragon Emperor. That's like a thing from The Mummy Returns. You have the protector of the Mummy, the girl ninja. That's like Odette Fair from The Mummy, the guy whose like life's work is to keep the tomb from being open, who sucks at his job, obviously.
Sucks hard.
Well, you want to talk about how bad they suck. So the bad guys show up, they got the O'Connells there, they got they open the Mummy and they're about to bring him to life. The son and the ninja girl, the protector, swoop in to save the day, right? They knock the magical ornament out of the guy's hand and it hits a statue next to him. But it turns out that it was like a ruse, that the thing they were about to use the magic was a fake. It was like a dummy, in place, placeholder. And the accidental statue was where the real mummy was hidden. So the good guys getting involved is what made the mummy come to life. So just like Rachel Weisz brings the mummy to life by reading out of the book in the first one, again, the quote-unquote good guys are the ones who cause it all.
Yeah, all of them. Everybody along the way that does this shit. Because here's the thing. They've seen mummy shit before. She reads the inscription off to let them know what it is. Like, she should have not even read that. Why even tell them that? You know what's going to happen. They're going to
something different. They don't even know.
Make some shit up. And these girls... immortal, 2,000 years you're guarding this thing. The first cat that breaks in, she just fights it for a second and leaves. And then they just unearth the whole thing. No one comes back. She doesn't go back, talk to Michelle Yeoh about no, fuck it. These are the worst guardians ever. The worst. These are the same people, though, that decided to do this crazy-ass curse instead of just murdering a dude 2,000 years ago.
Fair enough. Exactly.
Not
you could
the
just
best.
poison that motherfucker. We wouldn't even be having this problem right now. I like the effect they use on Jet Li as the mummy, where he's like a mummy inside a terracotta armor. So like if he emotes too much, it'll break off. And you'll see his mummy face, and then he forces himself to create more hot clay around himself,
burns them or whatever too. It's like painful.
I like that. That was a cool little effect. He's super powerful right out of the gate, though.
Yeah,
like, whereas Imhotep had to build up to getting his power and become more and more powerful and become a threat by the end, right out of the gate, he's got all his powers.
Yeah, ice, fire. He's like elemental man, you know what I mean?
He's got all the elementals.
Yeah, and he's shooting them out. And he can also, like, just do the Jedi thing, too, which is, I guess, air or wind. Yeah, but
and they say he can control metal, which is why he can, like, throw swords if he wants to or whatever.
Metal.
So he's pretty much across the board.
Yeah, he's tough,
Metal is earth, I guess, technically. I don't know.
It's in there.
So, obviously, Mummy gets away, and but they figure out where they're headed. They're going. He needs to get to Shangri-La, to the like Fountain of Youth or Well of Immortality. I don't know. Do they ever call it?
Yeah, they say. Yeah, it's something. It is like the Well of Immortality or something.
That, but that's where they got to get. So again, they hit some mummy tropes. Quirky pilot guy helps them make a trip. Yeah. That's a mummy movie trope from this franchise. Yeah. They get there. They have a big fight at the like gates of Shangri-La. You want to talk about Yetis?
Oh, they get these Yetis. I thought they were like cool, but it's also there's a lot of what the fuck.
It's a very what the fuck moment. So it's like they're having this shootout, and like the general and his men are kind of starting to get the best of them. The ninja protector girl, Lynn is her name, right? Mm-hmm. She runs up to this gate and just stands and yells out into the mountains. She's just like yelling. Yeah. And then 3 Yetis, like big, muscly, abominable snowmen looking like
just like a Yeti.
Apes with cat faces, kind of, come out and help them like whoop ass on the German, on the Chinese army, and like whoop. I say Germans because they're dressed in that kind of gray coat with the black trim. They almost look like Nazis, but they're
these guys aren't like
Chinese.
These guys aren't like Chinese military though. Are these
I
guys
think
just
like a faction? That specifically works for that general. They're like a cult.
Yeah,
almost.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like shit, like Daryl Hammond and Blues Brothers.
There you go. Call it back. Call it on back.
A little bit more apt than those guys though.
But yeah, like this is kind of one of those things where.
It's inexcusable.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I could definitely see this being a breaking point for a lot of people with this movie. Yeah. Like
in the franchise as a whole, people are probably like, I can't do this.
Well, because later Jet Li does some shape shifting into different creatures, and I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
But some about these Yetis, it might be the fact that they kick a soldier and they make the field goal thing.
Yeah, they're kind of cheesy.
They're a little cheese ball there. And again, and I think this has to do with this franchise, CGI here is better, but they don't go out of their way to be overly realistic. This is 2008.
Yeah.
This isn't that long ago. This is 1 year before Avatar came out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they don't like... They're like, I feel like there's a lot of good enough. Like, people are always going to know it's CGI, so we don't have to take it too far. It's okay if it looks a little rubbery. It's okay if it looks a little fakey.
Yep.
Obviously still way far and above the Scorpion King at the end of
There's a lot,
There's
a lot of production value in this whole movie.
Absolutely.
A lot of it,
there
but
is.
you're right on the CGI, and it's good. It holds up better, but it's only 10 years old now.
Right. But again, they fail. They don't stop the Dragon Emperor from finding the gate to Shangri-La. Yet somehow they're still able to they're still able to get there before him. They keep
Yeah, they beat him, but then it doesn't even matter that they beat him. He just walks in.
Yeah, they get to Shangri-La. It's revealed Michelle Yeoh is still alive. She's obviously used the fountain to keep herself alive, and the ninja girl, Lynn, the protector, is her daughter, and they're both immortal.
Yep.
So it raises this whole thing, because her and the son Rick O'Connell's son, have been having this budding romance, and now she's like, we can't be together because I'm going to live forever, and I don't want to watch you die. All that
Lord of the
shit
Rings.
And seriously, I'm really over the whole love story that takes place over a 2-day action sequence.
Their love story is bullshit.
It's in so many movies. I'm getting really... I mean, I get it. It's one of those things where, they want to have... They want to have a romance in their movie. They want to add levels to their movie, but it just doesn't make any sense with two people who are in the situation where they are constantly either on the run or making plans. There's no time to think about fucking. There just is not time for it.
And they're real quick. They fight each other, and then the next scene they're working together.
The next scene,
and the romance
James
is budding.
Bonds her. He walks in his white tux coat and is all like we fought last time, but hey, maybe you want to go. I mean, he's straight up James Bonds her for sure. So yeah, they get to Shangri-La. We forgot another mummy movie trope here, where during the battle, Rick almost gets killed. He's about to die. And they take him to the Fountain of Youth, and they're able to heal him. They don't give him the immortality. They don't, dunk him, but they heal him. That's a thing, Rachel Weisz dies and the Mummy Returns. They bring her back, so that's another... There's just a lot of things I noticed there, retread the plot of both Mummy movies.
Yeah.
But, they just, picked and chose what they wanted to use here. Which, it's fine. But like you said, they're all okay... we know he's coming. We have to be prepared. He literally throws a single fireball, blows everybody out of the way, and walks right in and gets right in the fountain. And he emerges as a 3-headed dragon.
Yeah, that was they should have known that was the first thing he was going to do. If you knew he had dragon on the table, he's the Dragon King, right? Dragon Emperor.
Yeah, the tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
Oh, it's right on the fucking wall of the tomb.
So, so we get to back to the tomb, and they're gonna have their kind of big final showdown. He raises his terracotta army. Unbeknownst to us, Michelle Yeoh is able to raise an army of our own, and she raises the army of darkness, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing I thought. They're a bunch of skeletons
with hatchets, moving all cool.
They're they have that same kind of fuck it attitude. Because remember when Jet Li's army shoots the arrows and they rain arrows down, and all these skeletons are laughing and pulling arrows out of each other and shit.
Great, they're great. That's a great part, that army.
Right? Yeah. So we get a pretty sweet battle with all that. And again, that parallels the end of Mummy Returns. You have Odette Fair's army taking on the army of the big jackal monsters, if you remember that. So we got a big battle there. We get Michelle Yeoh versus Jet Li. This should be awesome.
Yeah,
whoever the director is, I'm sorry, Rob Cohen. You don't know fuck all about shooting martial arts action. I'm not saying I could do better, but I know you don't know how to do it either. Because you have Jet Li and Michelle Yeoh in a sword fight, and it looked like fucking garbage. I was so bummed out. I was so bummed out. The fight between Brendan Fraser and Jet Li is better.
Yeah.
Because you just get to see Brendan Fraser get his ass handed
Yeah,
to
he just
him.
gets beat up and he throws a couple cool headbutts. That, though, I felt like, well, Brendan Fraser can't really hang with Jet Li, so you can't really do a good martial arts fight because he's so big and you just don't. I don't think he's got the skills to make it look cool. But Michelle Yeoh does.
Right, exactly. Michelle Yeoh, they should have had that big. I mean, I knew she was going to lose. You know she's going to die. She gives up her immortality before the battle, so you know what's going to happen. But you had the chance. You have two literal legends in your movie, in a movie that you don't deserve to have them in.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is pretty obvious how much of a paycheck movie this is for Jet Li. If you're watching it, he's really only actually in the opening scene that establishes his character and the final battle. All the rest of it is the CGI mummy, which I guarantee you he didn't mocap for.
Do you think he did the voice? I don't even know if he did the voice for that because it's so distorted. I feel like
he did. And I was thinking too. Do you think he did any facial mocap for when you actually?
It's hard to tell. I'd have to think about it while I was watching it because it's so dark and it's so like.
But I'll tell you this. Here's another thing.
Maybe
I was like, I knew it was a paycheck because he's always in the same outfit. The only thing that ever changes about him is they put a mustache on him when he gets older.
You're right, though. He's always wearing that armor.
He's always wearing that armor. So, like, you know his shit was all shot over the course of, like, 2 days.
Oh, that's great, man.
So, when you think about that cash, and you know like, maybe why they didn't get the best work out of him, you know?
Yeah, they got one. The first scene, though, kind of seemed like that had some cool martial arts for a second,
right?
But then that was
the assassins show up to take him out. Agreed. Yeah, that wasn't too bad, but it doesn't matter because you botched your scene with Michelle Yeoh, so you don't get points for having a scene with a bunch of nobodies at the beginning.
Yeah, that's true. Which comes like, an hour and 30 minutes later. Yeah, it's really weird. Like, is it only because you wanted to go to China? That's why you did this. That's why you get Jet Li because you're certainly not using him in any like martial arts respect or Michelle Yeoh, really.
Well, and I really think that the whole thing was just we can't do the same Egyptian mummy a third time. What's another culture that has some kind of death ritual? And the Terracotta Army is such a cool idea. The fact that they unearthed all these statues and like they kind of just to kind of take that and give it something to do. I understand why. I get it.
Yeah,
but also to court the Chinese audience too. But in 2008, had we even signed all those? I don't even know if they were getting
yet.
I don't know if they were even getting. That's why they had to make this new mummy.
Yeah, but
finally time to cash in.
But I'm sure it all plays over there in other countries too.
Oh yeah.
So.
But they beat him, they get the dagger. The father-son work together. We kind of get a resolution of our father-son arc, which is pretty, again, much like the romance, really just kind of crammed in here where they can fit it. Yeah. It's like, I almost wish they would have just done something a little less. Like, maybe just not had it, you know what I mean? Just, I don't need that. Really, in my mummy movie, I didn't need that kind of
They barely even tried to set it
up.
Or
maybe, okay, or one or the other. If you're gonna do the romance thing with the ninja girl, maybe just spare me the father-son thing.
Yeah.
Or just make it a regular father-son thing. Don't go over the top to be like, oh, you need to connect, and this is the way we're gonna, and then have the two ends of the dagger come together.
And how are they not best friends? It's not like he's into something else. He's into the same fucking mommy shit that your dad's into.
Yeah, it's like so obvious that he went out of his way to do the thing. It's like, hey, Dad, look, I'm better at the thing that you're famous for. Look at me, pay attention to me. So I don't know.
And you feel like he appreciates the fines. He's like, oh, this is good, but then he's the whole time he's like, you're going to college. It's like, what's he going to college for? Archaeology? He's fucking creaming it.
Yeah,
like, what, he would be a lawyer?
Already is the best at it.
Yeah, I found the best one.
All right, so not too much for character corner, kind of a limited cast, but I did want to talk about the guy who plays Jonathan. His name's John Hannah.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love John Hannah. He's in one of my favorite underrated TV shows, Spartacus.
Yes.
He's in the first season, and he's in the little prequel season they did. He's so good in that, and I love him in the first two Mummy movies. He's plays the. He's a little too much in Mummy Returns. I think they use him better in this movie, actually.
Yeah, he's great in this, actually.
He's got
really
a really
funny.
great moment. One of my favorite parts in the whole movie. No dialogue or anything, but when the big avalanche is burying him, and they do that action scene where he's running, the slow-mo running, and you can see the avalanche coming in behind him. That was a really slick action scene.
Looks really cool.
Like that.
That looks really cool.
Good. The least deadly avalanche of all time. Like, everybody survives that avalanche.
Well, the Yeti's coming.
No, but that general who gets knocked off a cliff and is hanging onto a bridge. He's fine. He's okay. So
he's military trained.
No, bullshit. I don't like it.
He's been up in these mountains for years.
So aside from that, I guess we can just get into Goodbye versus Goodbye.
I do want to say though, before that, this guy's arch nemesis, John Hannah, has got to be Tom Hiddleston. I feel like he was a lock for Loki. They said this is our Loki, and then Hiddleston came in. And
Hiddleston's like younger, sexier John Hannah.
And they saw him and heard him talk. They're like, "That's our fucking Loki." They already made the call saying you got it. They did call him back.
I agree. I could see.
But he could be a good Loki.
Would you watch an indie drama where he played Tom Hiddleston's like alcoholic older brother?
Yeah, because he does have a face that they look like you could make him look real fucking like
kinda
down
haggard,
and out.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
gaunt,
he could.
Yeah.
I do like that guy because you're right. I want to see him more, but he's not in anything.
Well, that's the thing. Really. I like him in these movies. He's real silly and everything. But if you watch Spartacus, he's a real like serious, conniving, backstabbing.
Like
he's like
guy.
The head of the house who owns all the gladiators and stuff. He's a real bad dude in that.
I can see that.
I like to see his the dichotomy.
Well, good on him. But let's see. Good. Well, let me ask you this question before I think about it, because this is really my main qualifier. You can assess it. It's okay. I actually like this movie, but I could see why it's probably our lowest rate. I think it's like 12% on Rotten Tomatoes and
that's real bad.
Like a 3 or a 4 on IMDb, and it's real low, but it's a lot of fun. And if you get past all the like crazy bullshit, do you have The Mummy and The Mummy Returns? Then I say, as a completionist, definitely a Goodbye, because it's not bad. It's just like, I could see why they were like, okay, we're not doing any more of these after a while, because they kind of got to the end and you're like, okay, that's enough Mummy for me, but it was just enough. I just started to get too full of The Mummy. I think Brendan Fraser's awesome. I think the people that are, with the exception of the son and the wife in this and that, they don't really use her that much.
I don't think Maria Bella's bad. I just think she's not as good as Rachel Weisz was. Like, I don't think she's terrible in it. I think she's fine. She's serviceable. I don't like some of the things they do with her character. I just don't. It's not her fault. I just liked Evie better in the other movies.
Yeah, agreed though. Right middle of the line. Yeah, it's not great, but she's been living in America for a while now, and maybe she lost the accent a little bit. That's what I like to say. And, so I think that I'm right in the middle. What puts it over is you got to have the complete set of The Mummy. It's a great fucking trilogy. I think I'm kind of like right there with you. What I would say, if you're like a big fan of the Mummy franchise, you really love Mummy and Mummy Returns like I do, I think this is an absolutely fine addition. Mm-hmm. It's right in the same vein. It even like is a little more, those movies are very tongue-in-cheek and kind of like know what they are, and this one even maybe goes a step further, and but I can also again see that being the thing that turns you off. This one's a little too knowing, a little too wink nudge nudge, and again, like, there are some game-breaking elements where if you were like, I cannot get past the Yetis, I would understand. I would totally understand. Also, it has to be said that there's not a lot of story elements in this one that aren't in the first two. Like, they kind of pick and choose what they want to use from the first two elements. You got, like, the kind of forbidden love and betrayal aspect of the backstory, but then the structure of the way they, like, get the mummy and stuff is from the second movie. It's, and the problem is, I would be fine with all that if, it's just a rehash. It's a little cheesy. It's a little... If they really made use of Jet Li and they really had some like awesome action set pieces with him and really gave him some shit to do, but they don't. They fucking waste him. They totally waste him. It could have been anyone. Could have been Oliver Platt.
It could have been. It could have been anybody. Ken Watanabe. It could have been any.
It could have been Newman.
It could have been Newman. It could have been. Don't whitewash the character. It's the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, man. Respect the culture.
He could do it. That guy's like half, I think.
But like, I agree that this is a fine movie if you're a fan of the franchise to enjoy if you enjoy it, but I cannot fully recommend it. I cannot give it my full goodbye seal of approval because when it comes right down to it, the only thing they needed to do to save it, they didn't do it. I was willing to forgive all sorts of shit.
Yetis.
Inexplicable Yetis. Still not great CGI. Paycheck performance from Jet Li.
Yeah.
I was the rehash of the plot. I was willing to go with all of that. You had to give me something. That Michelle Yeoh Jet Li fight burned me real bad, man.
That was
burned me
bummer.
real bad.
You're right, it was a bummer.
But like I said, if you're just a fan of the franchise and you really like Brendan Fraser as this character, which I really do, I think there's a lot of fun to be had. I don't think you'll be upset that you watched it.
Okay.
You know what I
No,
mean? If
you
you
won't be
really
upset.
love the Mummy franchise
No way.
like I do, I think you'd be okay.
Yeah.
But again, if you feel like skipping it and just watching the first two, you get all you need.
Right.
And I have to say, man, I think Arnold Vosloo as the Mummy is the best.
He's the best,
so good.
hard
When
to
he's
beat.
walking around and he's got the robe open, you know what I'm talking about? He's just strutting. He's like all bare.
He's really good, really creepy.
He's like when he's back to being. I just love how he's like reveling in the sexiness of having all his skin back.
Yeah, he's
You
like,
know?
this feels
Like,
good.
This feels good. It feels good on me. I like this. I like it.
So this is Gonzo.
Oh man. Whew. And well, also this one's kind of in just a regular DVD case. My other two Mummy movies and the Scorpion King came in their own like little specialty box set
secret.
that's all fancy, you know. So
Yeah, this one.
This guy's an outlier anyway.
But it says best in the series.
That's his. Roger Ebert said that.
Man, he loved it. East meets West. It's his favorite.
I don't like it.
He
Sorry,
loves it.
sorry, Roger. Agree to disagree, my friend. I know we're equals. We're contemporaries. Agree to disagree. So, hey, thanks for watching another DVD Bunker. Tell us what you think in the comments about the Mummy franchise. Did you see the new Mummy with Tom Cruise? I didn't. I maybe never will. Who knows? Although, definitely on DVD, I'll give that one a shot. I just finally got around to watching Independence Day Resurgence from last year.
Good? Any good?
Not as bad as I'd been led to believe. You know, I'll tell you what, it's better than X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh, shit.
Yeah,
I
that's
sat
right.
through that pile of junk.
Bad
Pile of
stuff.
dirty
Bad
jizz.
news. Bad news. All right, find us on Twitter at Herskilles.
At the Drunksman.
Hashtag DVD Bunker if you want to talk about any of the movies, the Mummy movies we've done on other episodes. Thanks to Jeannine for our art and Austin for the banners and Ron for the music. Make sure you're checking out the rest of the TUFF channel, BFF, OSP, Fan Friction. You'll notice, I don't know if you noticed the blank spot. If you want to go back and watch Live from Philly, I dropped the title to Kimber Barrett. Spoiler alert. It was an honorable defeat. I couldn't have been prouder of her. She earned it. So, big love to her. Big love to the TUFF channel. And we'll see you next time.
Fuck you, Randall.